Section 2 will deal with the importance of clear and concise communication. Remember when we opened with the statement about the impact of a coach and that it is never neutral? That impact could be either positive or negative, and we always need to keep that in mind. According to Joe Ehrmann, one of the fathers of transformational coaching, a coach has to be a mindful communicator who is aware of how his words and nonverbal signals are interpreted and understood in the context of his athlete's developmental needs and capacities. Remember, coach, it's not just our words, but our nonverbal signals as well. In this section on communication, we will cover the point that even though our intentions may be good, sometimes our communication won't help performance, but in fact may hinder it. We will discuss some techniques and suggestions to help you leave a good, positive voice in your athlete's head. Remember the research we talked about from Amanda Vesic in the previous section? Did you also notice that 2 of the top 5 qualities of great coaches are to give clear and consistent communication and also someone who listens? This is what we want to cover in this section, some ways to do this, as well as some useful tools to remember and put to use. The original concept for this model, performance equals P minus I, was developed by Tim Gallwey, The Inner Game of Tennis. Performance, how an athlete performs, is related to their potential. Things such as genetics, hours of practice, motivation, which is basically what they are capable of doing in this moment with the tools they have available, minus the things that interfere with that potential. Things like noise, pressure, nerves, lack of confidence, etc. How we communicate with our athletes plays a huge role in this interference component. In this module, we would like to talk about the ways we communicate and how they may interfere with performance even though our motives may be positive. Discovered by J. Ridley Stroop in the 1930s, this is one of the most replicated psychological tests that we know. This study shows how cognitive mental interference slows down the physical reaction times of a task. When the brain has mental interference, it is physically impossible for the body to move as quickly and make game-like decisions at game speed. Here's how it works. First, the subject is asked to just read the white letters. This takes about 8 to 9 seconds. However, if it is done in a group out loud, interference from others will increase another 4 seconds, and the total time could go up to 12 seconds. And you know what? This is not even the Stroop test. In the Stroop test, the subjects are asked to read the colors they see, not the words. If done alone, it takes twice as long to do, and if it is done in a group, based on the increased interference, could take up to 3 times as long, or almost 30 seconds. In many cases, up to a third of the people taking this test quit because the interference got to be too much. Let's look at this in real time. Parents yelling instructions, multiple coaches giving directions. You can see how the interference is increasing. And instead of helping, all of this actually slows down the time it takes to complete the task. Studies show that our brains cannot handle multiple tasks or interference. An athlete taking instructions and interactions cannot react at the same game speed. An athlete cannot process decisions at game speed and take all this input at the same time, no matter how good or intelligent that athlete may be. The solution? Decrease the interference, if not remove it, and say less. Speak off the ball. Instruct on sidelines, not during the game and game action when we're looking for the player to move to the next play. Not during crucial decision-making times in a game. And remember, the faster moving the sport, things such as basketball, hockey, lacrosse, or soccer, that involve more and quicker communications, the less distractions you want. Decisions, the technical aspect, and choices to be made, all at the snap of a finger. Now add in other interferences, such as pressures of parents, teammates, coaches, and opponents. So say less. Let your players make decisions and learn from their mistakes. This can be discussed later after the game or at a later practice. Be more clear and concise, just like the kids ask us to be. The calmer they can be, and they can react quicker and appropriately. So what are some ways to communicate to our players so that they know, as we said in the earlier section, we see them? Get on the athlete's level. If the athlete's kneeling down, you kneel down. If the athlete's sitting down, you sit down. I think you get the point. We don't want to be a transactional coach hovering over an athlete, telling them everything we expect. Don't wear sunglasses, coach, while you're instructing your players or talking with them. Let them see you and let them know that you see them. Eye contact is one of the most crucial nonverbal signals we can send to others when we talk with them. And ask questions. You ask questions and allow your players to ask questions. And finally, talk like a caveman. Talk like a caveman? What does this mean? Well, let's remember back in the earlier days. Cavemen move quickly. You've got to make a quick point and you got to keep moving again. Survival counted on it. Why? Well, most of your players will tune you out after 10 to 15 seconds, coach, no matter how good you are. Save the lectures for later, and you can have one-on-one sessions after the action is complete. Remember we said there's no more influential group in the world than transformational coaches? That's right, coach. You have an incredible amount of power, and we want to make sure you put it to the best possible use. From Jerry Lynch, in his book, The Way of Champions, he has a concept called the Rule of One. And coach, this is a rule we all should remember. That rule states that every day we should try to reach out to one person, one time, with one comment. Coach, if we do this, it can change a life forever. It does not matter the age. This has been known to be effective from middle school to college. And if needed, divide up your staff responsibilities if you have a large team, so that you can each effectively reach players every day, and hold your assistants accountable to make sure that they've communicated with the people that you've assigned them. It may not seem like much, but it will make a huge difference in the lives of each and every one of your athletes. Whenever we ask any group of coaches, can you point to a rule of one moment in their life? All of them tell us that they have, and they raise their hands. Every single coach. Perhaps it was not a coach that made that impact. It may have been a teacher, an uncle, an older athlete, or someone else who believes in them. But everyone is affected by this rule of one. When amateur golfer Buddy Marucci qualified for his first Masters, he was paired with the great golf legend Arnold Palmer. Marucci was incredibly nervous until Palmer walked up to him on the first tee and said, "Today's going to be one of those memorable days of your life. If there's anything I can do to make it better, please let me know." Mia Hamm wanted to be the best soccer player in the world and worked relentlessly to achieve that. Her coach at the University of North Carolina, Anson Dorrance, once observed her training alone at 6 o'clock in the morning on his way to work and sent her the following note. "Today I saw the vision of a champion, bent over, drenched in sweat at the point of exhaustion when no one else was watching." These are examples of the rule of one, a comment that can stick with a person for the rest of their life. Every day is an opportunity to empower and inspire an athlete. Our words can be affirming and life-changing. Yet, on the other hand, they also can be demeaning and depressing. We don't get to pick and choose which ones stick and which ones our kids forget, so we better be careful. As a coach who has an impact like no one else, as we discussed in Section 1, remember that the rule of one applies to you. Think about a coach or teacher whose words or actions changed your life. Maybe even send them a note of thanks. But more importantly, make a commitment to make that type of difference for another. As a coach, every time you step on the field or court, it is an opportunity to find that one person and make that one life-changing comment. Another helpful hint and a tip to help build solid communications with your athletes, and it's quite a simple one to remember, but yes, it's a hard one to follow. Coach, before you speak, think. Before speaking, ask yourself, is it thoughtful, helpful, inspiring, necessary, or kind? Again, thoughtful, helpful, inspiring, necessary, or kind. Coach, if it's not one of these, what good would that comment do for your athlete at that point in time? One more idea that has been proven to work and has been used at many levels and will give you and your staff a real insight into your athletes is the magic question. There is a handout on the website that will explain this and goes along with this activity. The magic question will give you incredible insight into your players. Hand all of your players a pen and a piece of paper with the following statement written on it. That's all. Give them plenty of time to complete the question. Ask them to go deep. Ask them to reveal something to you that you didn't know about them and you were unlikely to find out unless you did. And we do recommend that they sign the paper so that they understand that you care enough about them that you want to build a trusting relationship. Examples could be they don't like going first in drills or being used as a demo person. Or maybe they don't like playing on offense or defense. Maybe there's something going on at home. Maybe there's an issue with a friend or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, a parent, a fear, a worry, a concern in school or with a teacher. This will give you incredible insights and let your coaches know that they are all in, not just as players, but as people. I will tell you, Coach, that every time we've used this with coaches and programs, they've always come back to say what unbelievable and incredible insights they were able to get to help them reach their athletes in a more positive fashion. So there you have it. What did we learn in Section 2? We learned that kids want us to be clear, consistent communicators and be good listeners. That being a good coach is not just about what you know, but helping others know by communicating with them more. The better you communicate, the more interference you strip away and allow time for better game day decisions. And try out the rule of one and then ask the magic question. Coach, we promise you that if you do these things, you will see great things happen. Now on to the last C, character. Okay, Coach, we'll see you there.